Look, we've actually been playing a bit of the Battlefront Beta today.
The new Battlefront Beta.
Yeah, the new one. I don't think the old one actually ran a beta.
It probably did.
Nah. Anyway, we've been playing two of the game modes that are available, which is Drop Zone and Walker Assault.
These are the multiplayer game modes.
So what did you think about the Drop Zone?
I thought Drop Zone was quite nice. It was a smallish map. It was 16 players instead of the 40 player map that the other one is.
So 8v8, yeah.
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 That is generally how two even teams work.
Just clarifying.
It's an 8v8. You have, I can't remember what the planet is supposed to be. It's kind of like Mustafar, but it's quite a sort of rocky map with large cliff sides. It's quite a bit of cover. It works a bit better than the other map in terms of cover and smaller skirmishes. The objective is simple. Periodically, escape pods will appear around the map, which must be activated and defended by a team for a short period of time. It's a first to 5 wins.
And you get some bonuses, right? When you
It's a little bit, I'd say, unbalanced at the minute. When a escape pod is captured, bonuses come out of the escape pod, an additional special ability that can be used by that team, which seems a little bit weird that you give the bonus to the winning team already. It makes it kind of pushes for a steamroll. The team that is already ahead suddenly has, you know, better abilities, more defenses,
yeah,
whatever the bonuses may be.
I can see how that is well, did we find it much of a problem whilst we were playing? I can't say I noticed it that much.
The main issue was, it's more of just an overall balancing, but the main issue with the balancing on that map was the fact that it's on a hill, essentially, with one team spawning at the top of the hill and the other team spawning at the bottom, more or less, which is a bit of a problem. Running uphill is a lot more difficult than going downhill. So the rebel team that starts on the top of the hill we found it a lot easier, which it's quite interesting because Drop Zone is kind of a bit more unbalanced towards the rebels, while Walker Assault is heavily balanced towards the Imperials.
Yes, so we're on to the Walker Assault, which is it's a bit more in depth than the Battlefront 2 Hoth map. There's site uplinks that need to be captured by the rebels in order to get the Y-wings in, which are the bombers that will bomb the AT-ATs. And they're quite difficult to defend when you've got 2 AT-ATs walking towards you and the rest of the enemy team also backed up by AT-STs. So we found it could be quite difficult to play as the rebels trying to defend. And every time we played as the Empire, we found that we actually won.
Well, in every single game we played,
yeah,
the Empire never lost. The
exactly.
furthest the defending team ever got was to destroy one of the 2 AT-ATs. And I think this is where the problem comes from this map, is that there's the rebels have to do quite a lot in order to win, whereas the Empire arguably could win without doing anything. Yeah. Even if they lower the defences. So the game goes through 3 different quite large areas in the same sort of giant map. And at each point there are 2 satellite links which the defending team, the rebels, needs to capture and hold in order to lower the defences on the AT-ATs. But the AT-ATs just continue to move on regardless. So there is a time limit on the map as well, which kind of makes it very difficult for you to get any headway as the rebels. With the number of TIE fighters, AT-STs and turrets pinning you down in what is a very big, which is nice, but also a bit of a problem because it's a very empty map. There are trenches toward the end of the map, and there are some cliffs at the beginning, but the middle of the map is very open and very empty.
It does leave you open to a lot of sniper fire, and especially the last stretch of the map, where both of the AT-ATs are basically in range of where you spawn. It can get quite hectic.
Annoyingly, the best part of the map, which only happens in the middle part of the game and is only up for a very brief period of time, is the hangar and tunnels obviously from the movie. And you just spend such a short period of time in them. There's one main room and a series of small tunnels that I feel isn't really made the best use of.
I think they could have definitely expanded that bit inside a bit more to kind of lead to the mix of open terrain and close quarter combat.
I definitely feel there should have been an objective that the Empire actually had to complete to win. Because they were just they were winning effectively by default. The timer essentially reached 0 and the shield generators destroyed. They didn't have to capture points to allow the AT-ATs to progress, which would make more sense. That way you'd have a bit more of a diverse gameplay with possibly different objectives for both teams. You know, Rebels trying to set up signal transponders while the Empire are trying to maybe take down shields to get the ATs through.
Yeah, I mean that's how they did it in the Battlefront 2. You had to take down the shields, didn't you?
Yeah, to be able to progress, you had to systematically get rid of it.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's very, very unbalanced as it stands.
I don't know if this isn't included, but I definitely missed the small. Are they A-wings?
There's A-wings and snow speeders.
No, the snow speeders. I missed the snow speeders being able to tie up their legs. I didn't see any of that. I didn't actually fly in one of the snow speeders, so I'm not sure if it's in. But I will be disappointed if it's not. And from what I can see, I've not seen it, so...
I imagine it won't be in that map because the entire purpose is to destroy the two AT-ATs if there was such an easy way to do it. I mean, maybe they could add that in as a way to further slow them down.
Yeah. Like, perhaps
if
they stand on the spot for a
stuff
while.
To be added,
well,
at this stage, 2 months prior to release, we're more looking at bug fixes rather than gameplay changes. So maybe they probably won't add additional objectives, but they might be able to balance the ATs to make them weaker so that people actually have to defend them. Because I don't think I ever properly defended any of the ATs during our Empire playthroughs. They're giant tanks. They defend themselves.
Yeah, so there's some balancing issues that need to be addressed just in general, but I don't. It's nothing that they can't fix, and that's the whole purpose of this beta is to get
I'd say getting people hooked on the game.
Let's leave out the money grubbing accusation, shall we?
It's EA, they get the money grubbing accusations.
Yeah, I think that's all you got to say. And
just on a side note, in terms of the balancing, the fact that they've only got 2 of approximately 6 game modes available is slightly concerning that it's this unbalanced already. Are the other game modes unbalanced? Because they're not giving us access to them because they want to save them for the main game, but if there's going to be issues as big as there are in these ones, it's going to be a hell of a problem, especially for such a mainly multiplayer game.
I don't think it's that bad.
You can't win you essentially can't win as the Rebels on the one.
Well, yeah,
if
you can't.
If there are other game modes where
one
of the teams can't lose, it kind of defeats the object of playing.
No, definitely, but all they have to do is, lower the health of the AT-ATs.
How did you feel about the fact that rather than having a selection of classes, you just had one character with whom you then customise different abilities and weapons?
Well, I quite like the fact that you're free to kind of mix and match all the unlocks that you get, because I just think that can lead to some really interesting loadouts for people, and a bit more freedom in what playing the game how they want to play it. But I can see problems with that as well, because if you get some sort of combination that's ridiculously overpowered, I haven't seen anything firsthand, but that can be the problem with systems like that. So I mean, they've just got to be careful. They've just got to be careful that they don't introduce anything like that, because that can frustrate a few people.
The one thing I noticed was the fact that you seem to have one base weapon, as opposed to previously you had you normally had 2 weapons and then a grenade. So you now have one base weapon and then 3 slots to put additional abilities on. So the first unlock is the standard grenade, so that's fine. The strange thing is the fact that one of the additional abilities that you can equip is a rifle. And rather than working like a standard sniper rifle, it does a lot of damage and it'll kill someone if you shoot them in the head. But it fires one shot, then has a relatively long cooldown. I find this could be a bit weird, as ordinarily, that if you were playing as the sniper role, you'd have a powerful rifle, but then you'd be limited to a weaker pistol, so that you couldn't necessarily finish off someone at range with the pistol. You have to snipe them. Whereas in this one, you've got the sniper rifle and the machine gun. You've almost got the best of both. And
yeah, I think the cooldown works really well with that though, because I mean it's not like you can just kind of keep firing your sniper rifle. You have to wait like about, you know, I'm not entirely sure what the time was, but it was like a good, you know, 5 to 10 seconds.
It's an ability that does a huge amount of damage to a player if you can aim. The problem is that I feel it does too much damage, mainly because it's coupled with a machine gun. The weapon, you have 100 health, the weapon on a body shot will do 90 damage. You then whip the machine gun out and they're dead. Yeah, and most of the time people aren't going to be running around at full health anyway. So the fact that it does 90 damage seems a little bit unbalanced. It could probably do with being a lot less, so that it requires some actual skill. Shoot someone in the head, fair enough, they're, you know, kill them, but practically killing them for a body shot seems a little bit, you know, silly.
Yeah, I mean the other weapons seemed, you know, you've got your base rifles for each one. The Empire's got a little bit more damage, a little bit lower fire rate. The Rebels have got the opposite, a bit less damage and a bit higher fire rate. So they kind of seem to balance out quite nicely. You know, the Empires are the heavy hitters, and the Rebels are just, you know, the guerrilla. I think they're just trying to get that guerrilla tactics feel across with their weapon, which kind of works well. And I think on the whole with the infantry combat, it seemed to work for me. I quite liked it, and I didn't feel there was particularly any huge balancing issues with it. Maybe just the cyclic rifle, like you said, could do with a bit of a damage reduction, but again, it's beta. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, the thing is, the Hoth map mainly was an incredibly open map, and it was very easy to hit someone with the rifle, then switch to the machine gun, and just immediately finish them off. It's very strange that you only get the one main weapon. I mean, there's a smallish selection. Weirdly, one of them is a pistol, and I can't see, if they're all trying to be balanced, I can't see the significance of throwing a pistol in. It seems a bit weird to me.
So the infantry combat's looking good. What about the vehicles?
The vehicles, they seem to have changed the way that they spawn and how you access them. It appears now, rather than them appearing in specific locations, you simply collect a power-up and then you can opt into going into certain vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they've done that because of the way that they've previously done it in like Battlefront 2 was the vehicles kind of spawn and then people jump in, and kind of all the Battlefield games as well. And there were people that didn't necessarily use vehicles much at all, so I think this is more of an incentive for those people. Like if you're running through the map and then you see this power up that will, you know, get into an X-wing, you feel more inclined to actually just go and grab it because, you know, it's appeared just for you sitting right there. So I think it will give those players a bit more of an incentive to jump in a vehicle. But in terms of the actual combat, I don't know. I had a couple of goes in a TIE fighter and an X-wing actually, and the controls seemed a bit kind of loose when I was trying to fly, and I found some collision issues as well when I was trying to actually, you know, do a bit of a close call with the ground. I actually clipped the ground when, you know, I didn't think I was anywhere near it, but that could have just been me. But what are your feelings on the actual kind of overall feel of the vehicles?
I feel that because they're trying to balance the flying vehicles with an infantry force as well on the ground, it doesn't seem to quite work so well yet. I was finding it very difficult while I was in them to be able to see anything that was going on the ground, and there seemed to be a huge area that I could fly around in with nothing to do. The first one I got into, I was in for about 30 seconds before I was immediately killed by something, which I have no idea. And it doesn't seem particularly intuitive fighting. I was playing as an A-wing and I was firing bombs toward the AT-80, but they didn't seem to do anything. It didn't feel like I was doing anything while I was in the A-wing. It didn't feel like there was something unique to me being in that vehicle, some way I could help the team out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in the old one, when you were in the snow speeders, you could use the you could obviously use the ropes, but I didn't see any of that. So yeah, well, I mean, we'll have to see if they how they go with it, because at the moment I personally don't feel like I'd want to fly in any ships.
It felt like the ATST, the only ground vehicle they have in the beta was, or with the exception of the AT-80, which is the objective one, was more interesting. Because you're closer to the action, so it felt like you were actually doing a bit more stuff. But the flying ones felt quite underpowered. Perhaps it would be better if the team was divided into both ground and air units. Once again, though, this is a beta, that ain't going to be a change. But it feels like if there was, you know, it's a 20v20 map. You could easily have 15, you know, 15v15 ground forces and then 5v5 flyers. Then that would actually create an interesting dynamic.
The game itself, though, it's very nice. It's very pretty.
The style, I'm really quite happy with the style. The way they have the plasma beams hitting enemies and the explosions have really taken the original style from the original films, the kind of almost cheap special effects, but it adds a level of nostalgia, and it's stylized.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's similar to the Alien Isolation game. I remember that being amazing because they had the computers stylized like the same technological computers they had at the time, rather than trying to make it too shiny.
Yeah.
They lost, you know, they got that key element, and it's the same here with the Star Wars. They've got all of the right sort of aspects from the original trilogy that people, you know,
it's like sparks
almost,
flying.
you know, a lot of people grew with them. Yeah, the way the explosions properly looked, the sparks, so you had to go with a rocket launcher, and the explosion was hilarious and amazing at the same time.
Yeah, and it's like the little things as well, like the sound effects, like the shield. You know when you're inside one of those shields that you can put up, just the ping sounds exactly like the shields from the film. You know, like when the shields get shot at, like on the droids and stuff.
Yeah.
Just like the pinging of the lasers off of it is like that, just that twang at the end. It just sounds so perfect. It all rounds off to a really kind of good immersive experience as well, which I find is hard to find in like a large kind of FPS shooter.
Well, it's nice because it doesn't just feel like they've slapped the Star Wars name onto a shooter. No. They've got the right style, they've got, you know, the look and feel of the game is okay, so everything else should theoretically fall into place.
Yeah, so overall, you know, there's a couple of balancing issues. The graphics, I'm more than happy with them. I like the graphics and the entire, like the whole package, the sound. It's spot on for me. And yeah, I just think if they fix some of those issues, you know, especially I know we've only played 2 of the game modes out, possibly 6, but you know, if they fix those couple of sniggles in the Hoth map, and hopefully any others that, you know, they can find from this map that they can apply to the other stuff that they've got going on. I think it would be spot on release.
It seems alright. I'm concerned about the way that they've moved off of classes into just customizing a character. It feels like you might be simplifying it too much, and you know, I'm not sure how that'll play against other characters. It's definitely one to watch. I think I need to see a bit more of the full game to be able to give an honest opinion.
On first impressions from the beta?
It seems fun, it's intuitive. The shooting feels different from regular games. You know, it feels like you're actually... The laser pistol seems to work differently than you'd imagine a regular gun to. So yeah, I'd say it's perfectly good. As long as they don't screw up in any way, it should be quite enjoyable.
That was our Star Wars Battlefront Beta impressions. Remember to like and subscribe for more honest reviews, honest news and honest opinions.